Philly's best, R&B, Throwbacks 105.3 WDAS. It is Headline Sunday morning. My name is Frankie Darcell. Thank you so much for joining me. And always good to speak with those people who are at the table. Senator Bob Casey Jr. is joining me. Senator, thank you so much for the phone call. It is so good to finally have an opportunity to speak with you.
Well, Frankie, great to be with you. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. First of all, let me honor your father, Governor Bob Casey Sr., the great work that he has done, and you've continued in that footprint and carving out your own footprint. Let folk know what some of the initiatives are that you're working on right now in Washington.
Well, Frankie, thanks very much. I've had the opportunity to serve the people of Pennsylvania in the Senate for a good while now, and I've tried to place an emphasis on the middle class and working families, of course, and also to focus a lot of my time and effort on helping children and seniors. And it just so happens that this week we have an opportunity to vote on a bill that will greatly benefit children in Pennsylvania. About 500,000 of them will benefit if we can pass through the Senate an enhanced version of the child tax credit. When we took the opportunity in 2021 to expand that tax credit, we had a huge impact on the children of Pennsylvania. And now we have a chance to do that again. That's a somewhat different version, but it would allow the families of 500,000 children in Pennsylvania to benefit from a more generous tax credit. So that's just an example of something that's current, but also has the potential to be transformative in the lives of those children. Literally change the trajectory of their lives. Because we know that when we use the child tax credit in a very robust way, and it's not robust the way it is now. We need to strengthen it. When it is strengthened, we can reduce poverty in America by at least 40%.
Yeah, and starting here at home in the Commonwealth is so important. I want to come on the back end of that because I followed a lot of your work in dealing with businesses as well in this tough time when you're talking about children, the middle class, and families. That there are initiatives that you're working on with the Federal Trade Commission right now to hold companies accountable for not selling. Right? Products where the product is getting smaller, but the prices are staying the same or going up. Explain more specifically what it is that you're working on relative to that.
Yeah, I call it greedflation. I didn't invent that term, but it's a good way of describing it. Where companies are jacking up the prices of food and household items and so many other products in the lives of families. Just to get a big profit because they can get away with it. And what we have to do is continue to point that out. The corporate profits have driven part of the inflation we experienced the last couple of years. And we have to make sure that people are aware that that's a reality. And secondly, that we have to pass legislation that allows us to go after corporate price gouging or price gouging by corporations. And hold them accountable, and also roll back their tax cuts that they got, these big corporate tax breaks they got in 2017. All they did with those tax breaks was have a lot of stock buybacks and then jack up their prices. So they obviously didn't need those tax cuts. That tax cut should go to the middle class, and we should make sure that the child tax credit, which affects both middle class families and lower income families, is enhanced. So. The other related issue is shrinkflation, where the product is shrinking, but the price is not shrinking. So we're going to go after these companies and hold them accountable.
Well, Senator Bob Casey is my guest. Senator, there are those, your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, that would say it is the Democrats that's causing a lot of the economy to be out of whack. And I heard the giggle, Senator, that the economy out of whack and causing a lot of that inflation. True or false? That it would be the Democrats doing it.
What they don't want to do is they don't want to take on those big corporations. In fact, they not only don't want to take them on, the Republican Party, including my opponent David McCormick, is committed to extending all those corporate and billionaire tax breaks in 2025. That's why this election is going to tell the country a lot of what our priorities are. The Republicans want to extend all those tax breaks for the wealthy and for corporations. That's going to add $4.5 trillion to the debt. So everyone you know who's not a billionaire or a big corporation, the CEO of a big corporation, is going to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that we use this moment this year for a smaller tax bill on the child tax credit and business credits, plus next year's Super Bowl of tax policy in 2025
Yeah, I
to
love
give
that.
the middle class
Yeah.
give the middle class a tax cut and make sure that we're lifting up families and protecting seniors. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what we ought to do with tax policy. But Republicans don't want to do that. So if you want the billionaires and big corporations to get even richer starting in 2025, then I guess you'll vote Republican. But I'm going to make sure that people know the difference.
You mentioned that you have an opponent. You are seeking your fourth term in the Senate. What is the difference? What do you think the stark difference in the top one or two things? I only have you for a few more minutes. Differentiates you between your opponent and why people, when going to the booth on November 5th, should put the check or the box next to your name.
Yeah. Well, first of all, this is a candidate who lied about where he lived. He said he was living in Pennsylvania. He was living in Connecticut. The Associated Press in August of 23 told everybody that. Secondly, he lied about how he grew up. He said he came from nothing, like some kind of Abe Lincoln story when he was the son of a university president. He had a pretty good life growing up, just like I did. So you shouldn't lie about how you grew up or where you live. And then most recently, it's been made clear because he ran a huge hedge fund in Connecticut for years and wasn't here in Pennsylvania. He made investments in China, huge investments of billions of dollars in China. And we just found out, it was reported that when he was a hedge fund CEO, he invested millions in the largest fentanyl producer in China during his time as CEO of that hedge fund. We know the same year that he made money off that investment, fentanyl killed more than 4,000 Pennsylvanians. So I want to make sure that people know that, as well as the difference on tax policy. He wants to repeal the infrastructure bill. He doesn't support women's rights in terms of protecting the right that women should have under our law if we pass legislation in the Senate in light of the Dobbs case. He doesn't support workers' rights like the bill I support to protect union rights. And he doesn't support voting rights because he'll never vote for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. So he's wrong on so many big issues, but he's also not telling people the truth.
Okay. So I've got 4 minutes and 28 seconds. So now we are moving toward the election day on November 5th. And in the Commonwealth, on the state side, the entire Democratic delegation has put their support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm sure your office may or may not have issued a statement. I don't have that. So I want to ask you, now that we're in this transition and we're less than 100 days to Election Day, are you supporting the Vice President to be the next President of the United States? And your thoughts on President Biden?
Yeah, first, I supported President Biden strongly as I did in 2020. I think I was one of 3 Democratic senators that supported him as soon as he started running in 2019. And I supported him strongly in this election. But he made a tough decision that was in the best interest of the country. And once he made that decision and once he made it clear that he was not going to be a candidate for nomination, and Vice President Harris announced, I endorsed her that evening, the same within a couple of hours of her announcing her candidacy. She's going to be a strong candidate. She's going to carry Pennsylvania, and I think she'll win the election. But even beyond the election, I think she'll be a strong commander-in-chief, and we're going to continue to work hard to make sure she gets elected.
Very good. In the next 2 minutes and 45 seconds, I will give you an opportunity for any closing comments.
Well, first of all, Frankie, I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I think this in the next not even 100 days now. I guess we're less than 100 days today, because right now the people of Pennsylvania have a very important decision to make, not just in terms of our own state, but in terms of the nation, because we could end up being, and likely will be, the state that will decide not just the presidency, but the Senate majority. And I'm humbly asking for people's support in this election. I want to continue to deliver for the people of Pennsylvania. We have examples in every county in our state how I've delivered more than 1,660 examples in Pennsylvania, all across the state, including in Philly. More than 135 examples of delivering on roads and bridges and high-speed internet, and investments in reducing gun violence, investments that help our children, our communities. In Philly, whether it's SEPTA or the hospitals or the healthcare sector generally, investment after investment that's helping to rebuild cities like Philadelphia, but a lot of small towns in between, investments in water projects and high-speed internet in rural areas that have never happened before. So I want to continue to deliver for the people of our state. I also want to continue to fight the battles that we have to fight on protecting Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, and making sure we're doing everything possible to stop this extreme right MAGA effort to rig the tax code even further for big corporations and very wealthy Americans. So we're going to continue that fight. It's going to be a long, tough campaign, but I need people's help. And if they can go to bobcasey.com, that will help us enormously in terms of volunteers or financial assistance.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Senator Bob Casey. You know, you always have an open mic here. Good to hear from you today, and look to talk to you more in the future.
Frankie, thanks very much. Appreciate your time.
I appreciate you back. Wow. Great to hear from the senator. Let me say hello as well to our friends to the north in New Jersey. A lot going on politically there. We will all be going to the polls in November. We thank you for embracing WDAS and, of course, headlines each and every Sunday morning. Want to give you information as well as we move forward into this upcoming election. And as we go to the south of us, the state of Delaware is going through its electoral transition as well. I am excited to have in the studio Dr. Debbie Harrington, who is seeking office as the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Delaware. Let me say, for full disclosure, she happens to be my soror of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Yes.
And what an exciting time for you.
Yes.
To seek a statewide office.
Yeah, no, it's exciting for me and my family. We never thought about this. It never crossed our mind before, but I've done a lot of work on boards and councils in Delaware, and in particular in areas like education. I serve on the board of Delaware State University. I'm a trustee there. I serve on the board of examiners of psychologists, but mostly I came to Delaware. It was about getting a quality education for my youngest daughter. She was born blind with cerebral palsy, and so education for her was different.
Yeah,
and so I wanted to make sure that she had a quality education. I retired from the Army after 25 years so that I could get to the places that we needed to be in so that she could get it.
I tell parents all the time, I have a daughter, that when you are educating your child in today's climate, you have to navigate and be strategic as a parent and an advocate for your child, be it city or suburbs.
Yes.
For what it is that you're trying to get for your children.
You do. You have to be out there advocating for them. I did that, which is what sparked my interest in running for lieutenant governor, being in a position to affect policy and laws and procedures and how we connect people and communities to resources.
I've got to tell you, one of my favorite people on the planet is Dr. David Allen, president of Dr. Tony Allen.
Yes.
I got to tell you, I joke with him all the time because David K. Wilson is the president of my alma mater, Morgan State University.
Yes.
So I joke with him all the time. So Dr. Allen, that was a Freudian slip. One of my favorite people who I spoke with this week, Dr. Tony Allen, doing some incredible things at Delaware State University and leading the national initiatives with the president on HBCUs.
For HBCUs. He is dynamic. We are so happy to have him. He's doing some great things. He has a connection, a deep connection to Delaware and to the people of Delaware. And that lends itself to Delaware State University. And now that he's working with the group and the national organizations for HBCUs, it extends our relationships even further. And it's just been superb for our students. We're growing at Delaware State University. And a lot of that is because of the influence of Dr. Tony Allen. So he's we love him there at Delaware State University. Yeah.
And actually from Detroit, 2 of my girlfriends, their children are now students. 2 are at Delaware State, 3 are at Morgan, and 1 is at Howard. So I always try to extend, and they're parents, and I can get to everybody in 3 hours.
Yes.
So they're like, Frankie, this is happening. Don't worry, I'm in Dover.
Right.
Frankie, this is happening. I'm in Baltimore, and I've been up to Washington as well. Just the extension of family.
It is absolutely the extension of family. And I graduated from Norfolk State University.
Our hometown. Right? Yes. All right, Spartans, behold the green and gold. Behold the green and gold. Yes.
Absolutely. So I came into Delaware understanding that relationship, that family environment that HBCUs present. Yeah. And so, HBCUs have just an extraordinary strength in just developing us as people. Yeah. And as great citizens. Yeah. So I'm excited to be
I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions. I've got about 4.5 more minutes. Okay. Number 1, people have asked the question as we move through this big time, the president out of your great state, making the decision that he made that I thought was bold and historic. Yes. And daring, and to say the person who has served me is prepared and ready to serve this nation. But as we get into the debate, which is normal, the vice president has played her position. One of the toughest things about leadership is knowing how to follow, but then be ready to lead.
That's right.
And she's ready for that. You served in the military.
I've served, and I understand that relationship of
So my first question to you is, the lieutenant governor plays the position of a vice president. Yes. But in the event, and I'm not sure what the Constitution for the state law for Delaware is, but I believe in most states, in the event the governor wakes up and say, I don't feel like going to work today. I don't want to say, I quit, I'm done. I don't want to say anything tragic. But the lieutenant governor in the state of Delaware steps in to serve.
And that's important. Yes. That's what I tell people. I tell people that all the time. Listen, remember what happened in New York? The lieutenant governor was lieutenant governor one day, and the next day she was governor.
Absolutely.
And that's what we have to, when we elect our governor, our lieutenant governor, we have to elect a person that is also ready to be the governor of the state. Yes, the lieutenant governor takes that.
What are you going to bring to that office?
Well, I bring
I just spoke. What are you going to bring to that office?
You did. You spoke
Did I? I'm just saying.
Thank you for that. Yeah, but no, I bring leadership. And speak, it's talking about, I'll give you a little small story because I know we were short on time, but in the military, we promote up to potential. So when I made full colonel, it was because, yes, I did a great job as a lieutenant colonel, but it was also because I had the potential to be the general officer. And so a general officer, that's how we promote in the military. So here, when we select our lieutenant governor, it has to be someone who has lived experiences, who has leadership experiences, who is able to function in a crisis, because most of the time, if you are the lieutenant governor and you have to become the governor, it's under dire circumstances most of the time. So it has to be somebody who is capable of doing that, and I'm that person. And
not ready on day 1, ready on moment 1.
Ready on moment 1. Thank you for that. I'm going to take that.
Go right ahead. Ready at moment 1.
At moment 1, you have to be ready to operate in the next higher level.
Great.
And that's me.
That's you. Ready.
That's Debbie Harrington.
Dr. Debbie Harrington is my guest. You've got your clothes to tell the great folk in Delaware who listen on a regular basis. Let me just use this as well as an opportunity to say thank you so much to the folks in Delaware and all the love they show us here on a regular basis. Let them know why. Use this as an opportunity as to why they should vote for you for lieutenant governor.
Well, I come, again, as we talked about, I come with a wealth of experience. I went in the Army a second lieutenant, transportation officer. I came out a full colonel, having a logistics officer, systems integrator. I worked for NATO. I was the deployment chief for NATO when it had 26 nations and their partners. That was managing resources deployment for not just a state, but for nations that differ in beliefs and values and differ in, and of course, language. But always, we could come to consensus. I bring that. I'm a combat veteran. I was in Desert Storm. I was a battalion commander. So I come with lived experiences. I come knowing how to put resources with people and with communities. The lieutenant governor has 2 statutory requirements, but it also has a responsibility that people don't talk about. And that responsibility, so the first statutory requirement, chair the Senate. The second statutory requirement, chair the Board of Pardons. But the third thing that people don't talk about is putting resources with people and with communities. And I come with that built in already.
All right.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll keep in touch between now and November.
Yes, please.
And love
do.
to hear from
Yes,
you.
please
You got to
do.
give me the address to your celebratory party as well.
That's right.
All right.
I gotta have you there so you can not just give you the address. I want you to come there and
Absolutely.
talk. Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
This has
Yes.
been a pleasure.
It's
and
a pleasure.
what people can hear, but what I can hear and see is your passion
Yes.
for service
Yes.
and knowing that you served our nation in
Yes.
the greatest capacity. My dad was career Marine. My audience knows that it is the greatest service
Yes.
to this country that you can give. So thank you for your service,
You're
and
quite
thank you
welcome.
for your desire to continue to serve.
Continue to serve.
I thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
To help change lives.
All right,
Yes.
Dr. Debbie Allen.
Yes.
Dr.
You-
Debbie Allen. Look, I done married you
I
off
did
to
that.
Dr. Allen.
Dr. Allen.
Dr. Debbie Harrington
Yes.
is my guest. We're
Thank you.
105.3 WDAS. We'll be back after this.